Dude, so how do you balance all these things? Like the exercising, the business that's killing it, a family, because you've got a wife and kid, I believe. And
Yeah.
so, like, how do you balance all that? Because that is a lot to handle and a lot to try and keep growing and keep pushing forward all at the same time.
Yeah. I used to treat each one of these domains as separate domains. Like I had my body, and then I had my connection with myself and God, and then I had my connection with, my relationship with Lizzie, my wife, and my son Luca, and then I had my business. And it was like I was running four different things until I started to realize that they're all interconnected. Like me working out and having high energy levels and confidence in myself allows me to be a better leader in my business, which means I'm making more money. And me having a better connection with myself, right? And like working out and not having all that, like now I know who I am. And since I'm not drinking and this conduit's clear, like I'm getting like downloads from like the universe. But more importantly, like when I feel good, right? And I look good, well, like my sex life is much better. And like I have the energy to go talk to my wife and I want to take her out on dates and I get to play with my son, And so like I can see how one domain works in all of that. And then I work on like my relationships with my my wife and my son. And when those are in really good positions, well, then I can show up into my business and be like, all right, cool. I don't have to worry about a fight that I just got into. Like I can be fully present, fully here. And so I know that like when these relationships are whole, that I can do this. And then I don't feel guilty going mountain biking. And then I know that if I work on myself and I get a deep knowing of who I am and I work on my emotions, right, and I'm able to like not lash out because I'm stressed out, well, that makes me a better husband. And now I'm less responsive at work. And so my cortisol is lower in my body, which means I look better. So all of these are interconnected. And so the moment that I was able to kind of tie them all together and see them as levers, like if I pull this one, what's the impact? Well, now it's moving together as like a functional, like little like system. And that has made it a lot easier to control because I know everything impacts everything else.
Dude, that's great. I love thinking about it as like this one cohesive sort of unit instead of okay, I've got my fitness, I've got my business, and I've got my family. It's like no, they're all interconnected. Did it ever get to a point where like you were overstretching one thing and it was sacrificing another piece of this, and then you had to like kind of work through this and like develop that mindset?
Dude, all the time. Fucking it still happens all the time. Like, business maybe, all of a sudden, like all these people want to start working together. And so I'll go heavy into business. But I refuse to sacrifice my body for whatever reason. That's like the one that I won't sacrifice. So what sacrifices? Well, my relationship with my wife. So then we start to fight. The stressors get there, and then I'll go dump emotion and time into the relationship, which means my business is going to suffer. And so it's really in this spot where like you just have to be super aware of it. And like there's going to be seasons of life where some are going to start to kind of decline and atrophy, and you're just going to have to be okay with that for the moment. But you can't let it get to zero, and you can't let that keep going. You have to get into it. But like when we had a baby, my business was going to suffer for a bit. It's going to be really hard to stay in the game for that long, and you have to be okay with it because it's just for a moment. It's not forever.
Yeah, it's just this like never ending balancing act. And I think you said like the awareness of like what season of life you're in. Like from what I've found is like some things you kind of do in sprints of like okay, for this period of time we're gonna sprint on the business. Other things might lack a little bit for just a short period of time, but then you're back to those other things, and it's like this constant ebb and flow of these things.